Danielle, welcome to the cave.
Thank you, man
Hey,
cave.
that's right. You have a recent project that you were just in, Bosch Legacy. Before we jump more into that, I was doing some research on you. I like your story. And so
Oh God.
you got psychology degree, cosmetology, acting. Am I missing anything? Is there something else that I might have missed in that?
I'm a business owner. I own my own business, and I'm a mom. It's a lot of hats.
How do you do all this, and what made you get into acting from all this?
To be honest, my drive for having so many hats definitely comes from my mom. My mom is always like that. She's always trying to get this certificate and that certificate. I'm like, Mom, sit down. So I think I got that drive from her. But acting, I've been acting since I was 4 years old, actually. And it's just always been my thing. I remember as a little girl, like acting out scenes in front of a mirror. And my parents are, both retired cops. And that was not their scene at all. So I was really the driving force. I remember being from New York, I'd be like, Mom, you got to drive me down to the city. I got to go to auditions. And I'm like 7 years old. And she's like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, call my agent, Mom. They haven't called me in a long time. We got to do something. And she's like, God, this kid.
Were you watching something that kind of like made you like, this is what I want to really get into?
Honestly, my earliest memory, I would have to say, is the Selena movie.
Okay.
I remember watching that. And I thought, I don't know, 6 or 7. And I literally thought that Jennifer Lopez was Selena. So I was like it didn't even click that like who she was and stuff, but I was so like enamored by her talents. And to this day, she's one of my biggest idols, especially her being Puerto Rican as well and from New York. So, and just also the way she carries herself and her business drive and all that. So I think one of those I remember like, yeah, I want to do this and I want to be an entertainer and I want to be in the screen. And I would say back then.
So how did the whole like the psychology degree and then the cosmetology, how did you what made you go through that phase too?
Well, I would say I was about graduating high school. And I think there was a moment where it was like, I grew up in the industry and I wanted to make sure that this is really what I want to do. Okay. This is for the long haul. I wanted to give myself the opportunity to try things out, to be a little more well-rounded. I thought about other careers that could help my acting if I ever wanted to go back. So psychology is so tied into acting. It was like taking an acting class. And cosmetology as well. Being a woman of color and having curly hair and stuff. And it was like, I really want to be represented well on the carpet, on screen, and be able to kind of take care of myself. Yeah. So I got into those different things. And I'm really glad that I did. I took a long break off, almost about 6 years. And I worked in the industry in cosmetology for about a year. I worked in a treatment center out of college, and I gave myself that break, and it really made me love acting so much more because I was like when I got back into it, I'd start from like ground zero, like all my connections gone. There was back then there was no such thing as self-tapes. So no, like I'm so lucky to be where I'm at and to be given that second chance to get back in,
Did you do some commercials too?
Yeah. Back then, yeah, I did a lot of commercials. One of my first thing when I was younger, I did a Snuggles commercial. Really, really funny. I was terrified of the Big Bear to the point where I told my mom, I was like, I can't do this, whatever. And she let me go under and notice that there was a guy moving him. And then I finally did the shoot. But that was one of my first jobs I ever booked. So a lot of that. And I continue to this day, I'm still doing commercials and stuff like that. I think it's a whole different realm for acting, but it's also really fun and really profitable. So I love it.
Yeah, I've had guests on whether they love doing the commercials when they have that break, say for a few months before they start filming again. They said it's easy for them just to go in, do a day's worth of commercials, and then off to the next project.
Right, exactly. It's one full day, you get it out, you get it in. And a lot of the times it's not, a lot of dialogue. It's really fun. It's more of kind of like a print job mixed with, and then, of course, it airing so many times, we get residuals and stuff. So that's really good for an actor.
Right. So you've done some cool projects that I noticed too. You've done like the guest star ER, Without a Trace, NCIS, Home Economics. Like, what's been like your favorite project, you think?
Oh my God. Not compared to what I've done recently, but back then I would say one of my biggest like pivotal shows in my life was ER. I mean, that was huge. My parents watched the show. John Stamos was on the time. Okay, this is like, I was in like a teeny bopper at the time, right? So I'm like 13 years old, and I was playing a pregnant girl and homeless. So that was really, really great for my career, just to be able to embody that. But I had Shane West on one leg holding me up and John Stamos. I was like dying inside. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best day of my life. So I'd have to say for sure being on that show and guest starring there was huge for me.
You were like Uncle Jesse right next to you, pretty much.
Dude, oh my God, if I ever go to again, I'm like, you know that you held my leg up while I pretended to get burned? We go way back. We're super close.
So one of your recent projects now is Bosch Legacy. How excited were you to get this role? And tell us about your audition.
It was amazing for me. Like, I was so humbled, especially having, again, my parents being NYPD officers. I remember just like getting on my first fitting and my dad like tearing up because he's like, oh my God, you look just like your mom. Cause they met on the job.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. And just getting some pointers from them. And then also Tim on set, he was really, really amazing. He's a retired police officer who helped us every step of the way, any questions we had. My audition for this, which was really funny, I was actually in Hawaii at the time on a family day that me and my fam do every year. And I was like, this is so funny, such an actor thing. They say every time you leave, that's when you book something or
always.
Always, right? So I'm like, no, this time I'm not even bringing my equipment. Like, I really want to enjoy this vacation. I told my agent calls me. She's like, Danielle, I know you're booked out, but this one is huge. I'm like, Sheila, come on. And she's like, just do it. So I had nothing. Like, I literally had like, I think a blue t-shirt, a white background, no lighting, no nothing. Just did the audition. Didn't hear back actually. And they actually ended up calling me weeks later to jump in on a callback situation for a different role. And that was what was offered to me was Paulina Calderon, but I originally didn't audition for Paulina. So it was really cool. Yeah. Wow. So this is a great lesson for actors. It's like you think something's gone and then you have no idea. Dates moved. They're holding you for a different role. You know what I mean? You just gotta do your best and let it go, man.
Yeah. What is sometimes they look at you like, you know what? She might be a perfect fit for this role. Let's talk to her. Did they even ask you, like, are you interested in this role? How did that happen? Like, what do they say to you?
They called my agent and they were just like, we actually, we went a different way with the role that she originally auditioned for. But we really loved her. We'd want to know if she wants to jump in on this callback. Like, we'll put her straight through the producers for this other one. And I remember it was like a 24-hour turnaround. And he wanted me to do a tape. And I had 24 hours to like learn the lines and do it. So I ended up doing it. And then they emailed my agents and were like, actually, we want her to jump in on the live one. Forget the tape. And I'm like, what? So I mean, listen, you got to do what you got to do. You think on your feet. So I jumped in on the live one within 24 hours. And then a couple of days later, heard back.
Wow. So what was the description you were given for Paulina? And like, how did you prep to play her? And how much info did you ask your parents for help for this character to play the police officer?
There wasn't a lot of description on Paulina. I do know once I got to set, which was really awesome, is that there is an actor named Paul Calderon, and he was on the Bosch show. And the character was based on him, which I didn't know at the time. But then once, he's also Puerto Rican and it was just so amazing. So his kind of the way he carries himself is very much like Paulina. So thank God that just ended up working out. But with my parents, they both gave two really different and different advice, because coming from a male police officer, and then my mom, who's only 5'1", Hispanic, female police officer, she was like, make it a point that a lot of times when you get into situations, you get a lot more bees with honey, you know what I mean? And just talking to them, and a lot of people just like want to be heard. And like, she's like, I've calmed down so many things. So I really kept that in mind, that like, it's okay to have that sweeter side and listen, and try to de-escalate. And then with my dad, he was very adamant about the physical, the physicalities of it. Listen, the way you walk, you always don't want to be a large target. So I automatically, as an actor, thought you're walking in the room and you're like, I'm a police officer, but he's like, no, actually that makes you a target. Let's say someone shoots you from like across the room, you want to be as small as possible. So you're always having your shoulders kind of hunched, and you're always, if any situation you approach, you're always having your hand on your belt, always looking around, seeing what's going on, always knowing where your partner is. I mean, those are things that like I had to learn going in. The normal Danielle, I'm like, la-di-da-di-da. In my own little world. And he's like, you better cut that out.
Any challenges playing this character?
The uniform is heavy, man. Yeah. And this is like a fake uniform. I've heard that it's actually even more heavy. That belt, my back was hurting. Those boots are really, really heavy. Again, learning how to drive the car and approaching situations. It's kind of like I'm forming a whole different. A lot of the times when you're an actor, it's like sometimes you bring yourself to it or whatever, or it's very close to you. This was really me playing someone. I had to kind of separate myself, which I'm normally very bubbly and talkative. I had to kind of, focus on like the mannerisms and what she normally would do.
What do you love about Paulina? Is there anything you would change if you could change something about her? Is there anything?
Nah, man, I love her so much. She's so like badass and like is not taking no bull, and really loves her job. Like really, you can tell like her heart in it, and she really wants to do this for her. And especially in one of the first episodes, when she's in the locker room with Maddie, and she's like, listen, like you're just kind of giving her the ropes, and like don't let these guys or whatever, and very like don't mess with me, but like I'm here to do my job. So I mean, I think that's a great attitude to have.
That's awesome. Now you have some scenes with Madison, Lintz. How like describe that chemistry between you two?
That is my girl. Me and Maddie are super close. Denise as well. We're like the 3 peas in a pod. That is like, we go out for margaritas. Like I hang out with them all the time. They are so welcoming. I remember walking into the makeup trailer, and Maddie's like, oh my God, I'm so happy to meet you. And I was like, what? I'm happy to meet you. Like she's the nicest, one of the most talented and humbled actors that I know, for sure. I mean, she makes everyone feel welcomed. And I mean, the whole set's like that. I'm super grateful to be a part of this cast, for sure.
What was your favorite moment on set?
My favorite. There was one funny thing. So I didn't know that I was gonna get shot.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, I guess that was like the biggest joke. And I remember I believe it was the showrunner. I'm gonna regret this later. I think it was, but I'm not too sure. Or it was the producer. But he came out to me and he was like, "All right, it was nice knowing you." And I was like, "What is going on?" There was another moment. So I'm really small, and Maddie's a little on the taller side, and we have a lot of scenes together. So they have to apple box me, man. A lot of the times, I'm like have to be on this little box just to look kind of normal, and it's actually really funny. There's a photo out there I'm trying to find. It's like me and Maddie were like posing like this, but then like the whole photo is like stretched out, and you can see him on an apple box.
Is there anybody from the cast that you wish you had more scenes with?
Yeah, I mean, all my scenes are pretty much with Maddie. So, if I could, be able to meet some of I mean, I've met them with like red carpets and stuff like that, but to have some scenes, some more scenes with Denise or the other cast members, that'd be a Mimi, like that'd be so cool.
So now what's next for you now? Any other projects you're allowed to tell us about that you're working on or you're about to have come out?
For me, right now, what I can say is that you'll definitely see me doing a lot more roles that are very different from the next. So that's really my goal right now, is to kind of diversify, you know, my career and try to really challenge myself and do different roles from, I mean, I did a Christmas movie last year, and I want to be able to not be put in a box.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I'm a mom out here, I'm a Latina out here, but like I can be in every role. And I'm waiting for Yellowstone to call me, you know, if they want, you know what I mean? A
Yeah.
period piece, I love it, you know.
Yeah.
I would be on that.
What's your dream role? What are you hoping for you could play someday?
Definitely probably a period piece would be really
Okay.
cool. I'd have to work on my English accent. It's not that great. I'm obsessed with Yellowstone, especially going to Montana. I was like, oh my God, I'm dying to be on this show. I'd also love to like be on in Narcos. That'd be so cool. Like anything like super different from the next, I'm totally down. And hopefully, you know, very soon you'll see me on the big screen, and I'll be diving into some movies, which I think it would be probably the next step for me, which is going to be exciting.
That's awesome. Danielle, lastly, how can the listeners and the viewers find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram at Danielle Larracuente, and also I just started a TikTok, guys. I'm not really that great. I got some funny stuff on there. I don't know. Same at Danielle Larracuente on TikTok. So follow me.
Danielle, this was great. Thank you for giving me a few minutes today.